Okay. Sorry for being 3 minutes late, everyone. We were having some technical difficulties. Justin will be joining us shortly. And listen, if we only had one slight hiccup out of all the sessions, I'll take that as a win. I am here with Jane, with Kabir, two of my favorite people in the world. I'm not just saying that. I travel to Cincinnati frequently, and I go hang out with Kabir and his wife all the time. This panel is about the retailer perspective. I think everybody has been waiting for this one. The last panel that we just had was about growing your retail doors as a CPG brand and what goes into that. Prior to that was turning community into sales and retail. So all of it has been from the CPG side. And now we're getting to talk to the behemoths, the titans of industry from Erewhon and Kroger. So Kabir, please introduce yourself. Give us some background on you.
Sure. So nice to meet everyone. My name is Kabir Jain, Chief Growth Officer here at Erewhon. A little bit about Erewhon for those that don't know. We're an LA-based chain. We've got 9 stores, soon to be 10 across the city. Pretty premium in everything we do. We've got a pretty delicious cafe and tonic bar, along with a grocery set. Our stores are about 10 to 12,000 square feet on average. And yeah, we try to source and stock what we think to believe are the best in terms of better for you products out there. We try to be cutting edge in everything we're doing, from store design to R&D in the kitchens to marketing strategies to merchandising strategies, et cetera. I've been here about 4 years. Prior to this, was an investor in consumer food and beverage and private equity. And here at Erewhon, I spent a lot of my time on a lot of different things across the business. So everything from digital to e-commerce, our membership program, partnership strategies, growth strategies in general, kind of across the board. Happy to be here.
Welcome. Jane?
Awesome. Hey, everyone. Jane Dierkers, Senior Brand Innovation Manager for Kroger Health. With Dylan, when you said behemoth, I think you're talking about me, but I don't know if I want to be called a behemoth necessarily. Kind of the opposite of Erewhon. We have many, many, many stores. We operate many different divisions, and Kabir, in your area, Ralph's would be that division. So Ralph's, Fry's, King Soopers, Kroger, Harris Teeter, you name it. So very proud to work for Kroger. I worked for Kroger for about 12 years right after I graduated college. I haven't left. I have no plans to leave. I'm very proud to work for this company, especially Kroger Health being the healthcare side of the company. We're out to help people live healthier lives. And that's what I'm here to talk about a little bit today. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you too for coming. And like I said, Justin will hopefully be joining us shortly from Jimbo's. Jane, a lot of people, at least this was my initial understanding too, and my assumption is a lot of people think of this as well. Like, how does Kroger Health overlap with like the Kroger stores portion? Like, I know a lot of it has to do with nutrition and creating, like, because you guys really want to just make America healthier at the end of the day. So how do you kind of overlap with the retail stores?
Yeah, so we are in our retail stores. So Kroger Health in the past we're pharmacy in the Little Clinic, but we've rebranded as Kroger Health years and years ago. And Kroger Health is so much more than just the pharmacy and Little Clinic locations. So we have over 2,200 pharmacies, over 220 clinics. We have 30,000 pharmacists and nurse practitioners that work for us. So of course we're in our brick and mortar stores, but we know what differentiates us from our competition is that we have food. So we're a grocery store first. Of course, we've got the Little Clinic and pharmacy to help with the needs that you might need there. But we believe at Kroger Health, we believe in food as medicine. We believe if you are able to eat a healthy, well-balanced meal and diet, that you're going to be able to improve your health outcomes. So hopefully preventing disease before it actually even starts is what we're out to do. So that's how we kind of overlap with the rest of the store. But at Kroger, we kind of see ourselves all as one. So yes, Kroger Health is the healthcare arm of the company, but we truly all work together.
And I think that's a perfect segue into the first question. And Kabir, you can go first. And then Jane, I'm sure you're going to have thoughts on this. Over the last 5 years, like, coincides with when we moved to San Diego back in, call it 2018. I feel like the better for you CPG industry has just exploded. What have you guys seen from the growth perspective as a retailer for the products that are on the shelves? Like, have you seen such a noticeable shift in products being better for you, having, adaptogens and gluten-free and all of these things?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think every retailer in the country probably would agree with that. The easiest way to know is that, applications of new items and new brands to Erewhon has skyrocketed in the last kind of 4 or 5 years. It was pretty high to begin with, but it's, I don't know, maybe 10x since it was then. What that just implies to us is a lot more founders and folks out there are creating brands and creating products that they think consumers want or they know consumers want. And so we're seeing a big influx of new applications and new items. I think the trends have kind of ebbed and flowed in the last 5 years for us, and they'll kind of continue to ebb and flow in the next 5 years. But that better for you angle is kind of the throughput of everything we're seeing. Obviously, that we live in that spectrum of the space in terms of better for you, but it starts with different ingredients. It starts with blending function into food. Innovating stale categories, all the things that the people in this audience are used to. But we have seen no slowdown, in the last 5 years. It's only accelerated and probably will to.
And Jane, where do you think, I'm sure you've seen a ton of progression, but where do you think it's going to go, from 5 years ago to today, and then, in the future, in perpetuity? Like, what are you guys trying to push forward in the better
I
future?
even think back to like 10 or 11 years ago, Dylan, like thinking back then to where there was close to nothing. And I just remember like an assignment that I got in college was, hey, go find 10 natural and organic products at your local grocery store. So at the time I mentioned I'm born and raised here. I'm probably never leaving. So I was at University of Cincinnati and I went to the local Kroger to find 10 natural and organic products. Unfortunately, they were very few and far in between. I don't think I even truly knew what it meant to be natural and organic, like what it really meant. So what I was doing was just looking at labels and I couldn't find anything. I think I found maybe one or two products and they were all across the store, the huge store that I was in. And I just remember thinking like, oh, well, this was obviously the point of the assignment. There's not any there, which we have grown significantly. And I'm so proud to say that we have, because people are so hungry for natural and organic and better for you product. Of finding it in our stores now, and really across any retailer across America, being able to find them much more easily than you could in the past. It's just been so wonderful to see it happening. And I only see that increasing because now we expect it, to be honest, you guys. Like, it's something that if you come to the table at whatever retailer you're going to, and it's a better for you product, we want to see those clean labels. We want to see amazing ingredients and that product formulation being put together in the way that now it's expected. Our customers deserve it. You name it, people coming through our stores, they're looking for it. And now it's really a non-negotiable for people. So I only see it increasing, and I'm very, very excited about that. Back then when I was in the local Kroger, couldn't even find 10 products that I was supposed to find or looking to find. And now fast forward to today, Kroger hosts an entire Kroger Wellness Festival that features our Better For You products. So as you know, because you've been, Dylan, you've been nice enough to come to our festival in the past. I think we featured 148 of those brands last year, which is like not all of them, right? It doesn't encompass all of the brands that we carry in our stores, but just to be able to say that, look, I couldn't even find 10 years ago, and today we are only allowing 148 of those brands to come in and feature them at our festival, because it's all that we could fit in this huge amount of space in front of the 125,000 people that came through. So I see it growing. I'm excited that it's growing. I want it to grow for my kids. I want it to grow for the future of children and generations to come, so that we all can live longer, healthier, happier lives.
We are going to get to the Kroger Wellness Festival. I have that on here.
Yay.
We have a surprise guest. No, I'm just kidding. Justin, thank you for jumping on. Listen, Zoom, I know it can act up. So we're pumped to have you. If you want to give a quick background on yourself and Jimbo's and kind of what you do there, and then I have questions for you as well. So we'll jump into it.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and apologize for the technical difficulties. Justin Jackson, CEO here at Jimbo's. Jimbo's is a predominantly natural and organic retailer here in San Diego County. We've got 4 stores. I've been here for about 5 years. I think it's one of those dynamic and amazing retailers that you see around the country, and Jimbo's done an amazing job over the last 35 years getting it to where it was, and been very lucky to join here. Part of my history is I've been an executive at a number of different companies, Earth Fare back on the East Coast, Whole Foods for a number of years, a company in the Bay Area called Andronicos. And the majority of my career has really been around both procurement and operations. So I have a pretty good idea of, the flow through on grocery retail. So that's a quick synopsis.
Welcome, sir. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you as well.
We can jump into it. I've got a question for you, so I'm happy we're able to make it work. And Kabir, this one's also going to be coming to you as well. Jimbo and Jimbos are pretty strict as it relates to like ingredients and what they accept and put on shelf. How has that positively affected you guys?
I think the strict product standards goes a long way in terms of brand equity and integrity with our customers. I think if you look at a lot of the successful brands around the country over time, you'll recognize that people want to align themselves with something that they believe in. And my sense is that we are able to tap into a belief system that our customers come in and they recognize that we're doing this work and then it's meaningful to us as an organization, and it's already meaningful to them, and it creates really a pretty strong bond and alignment with the community. So from my perspective, it's a for lack of a better term, it's a competitive advantage, but it's almost what you'd call lifestyle, that people really want to go somewhere that aligns with their belief system. And I think if you're not doing it genuinely, it can be really challenging, and customers get it. But when it comes from something that's genuine and has integrity, then they can feel really good about it and comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything Justin said. I think we try to live a similar mantra here in the way we operate. We like to pride ourselves on very, very strict rules as to what we'll accept and what we won't accept at Erewhon, from a pure objective basis to start. And I think where that stems is, look, I think everyone agrees there's no definition of healthy or unhealthy. It's very subjective and very dependent. But I think we'd like to believe that any of our customers can come into our store, take any product off the shelf and pay for it and feel comfortable about what they're putting in their body, right? That's kind of the idea. Now, there's exceptions to the rule. We won't bat 100%, et cetera, but that's kind of the idea, right? So a customer can come in and they've trusted Erewhon and they trusted our team and our store clerks to put the right products on the shelf where they shouldn't have to read a label, right? They should just trust what's in it, trust that someone's done the work for them, and go on their way. And so that's what we try to live to. Again, we'll do our best, and certain things will meet criteria and certain things won't. But if the customers can trust Erewhon and the team in terms of the merchandising that we've done, then we feel like we've done our job.
That was great points by the both of you. Jane, can you kind of further expand on, I know you touched on it a little bit in the intro, on the emphasis that Kroger is putting on, like, food is medicine. This is what we're pushing forward for the next 25 to 50 years. And how can brands support you guys in that mission?
Yeah, I mean, we know America is sick. That is something that we know. And I could not agree with both of you more of everything that you just said. I promise you, had you guys not been on here, I would have been saying the same exact thing about being authentic and true and genuine and teaming up with retailers that are like-minded and have the same purpose and passion that you guys have. But with being in Kroger Health and the healthcare side of the company, and knowing that America is sick, and knowing that we have such an opportunity to help the country, knowing that we have this amazing, huge behemoth reach, like you said, Dylan, it's like we have a responsibility to help people, and that's what we're out to do. And that's why we have focused on filling less prescriptions per person. I mean, imagine a world where you fill less prescriptions per person, and instead you're teaching people how to eat a healthier diet and shop those better for you products. And people are hungry for that education, and they want this, but depending on where they are in their health journey, it's not always easy, and we have to start somewhere. And I think that that's okay too, to where we're not going to be perfect 100% of the time, and we're not going to always have produce for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's just not going to happen. Not for the Kroger customer. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to help them wherever they are on their health journey. And as Kroger Health, we've really committed to food as medicine. Like you said, for the next 25, 50 years, we've been talking about this for the last 10 to 12 years, which makes me really excited. It was almost when it felt a little bit gimmicky, you guys, like I say way back in the day, but 10 years ago, where people were almost laughing at it, to where it's like, well, what do you mean food as medicine? No, food can be medicine. Not all food, no knock on Oreos. Kroger sells Oreos. We will never not sell Oreos, but maybe if you're on your health journey where you want to have, the Oreo thins, that's going to help you just a little bit. It's a little step in the right direction. And then Kroger Health is going to be here for all of your healthcare needs after you decide to make that step. We've got our dietitians, our in-house dietitians you can have a telenutrition visit should you be across the country and not able to see one of our dietitians in person. We've got our little clinic locations. If you're sick and you don't have a primary care physician, we're here for that. And then if you do need to fill prescriptions, we're here for that too. But in the meantime, we want to help people really live healthier lives by learning how to eat the right foods first. So like you said, how brands can help by bringing innovation to our door. Like product innovation is so important to us at Kroger. We want 15,000 healthier SKUs over the next couple years. Like, we're serious about this. And we know we have the power to do it. We know we have the reach to do it. So yeah, lots and lots to go off of there.
I'm a big Kroger fan, so I love it. I love when you go down that path. Kabir, Erewhon, I feel like, is famous for their brand partnerships. What are a few things you look for when brands come to you with a solution or with an idea on how to partner with you guys to drive kind of traffic towards their product in Erewhon?
Yeah, so we are. It's been more an uptick as of late. But I think one thing to clarify, I mean, these are brand partnerships with brands that we already sell, right? So these are brands that have been approved at Erewhon, stocked at Erewhon, are on the shelves, and then we might try to do some more out-of-the-box marketing activities with them. So in terms of picking the right brands, we feel like we've already done that work, right? We should be comfortable partnering with any brand that's already in our store because they've met our criteria, they've gone through that process. The smoothies have been pretty popular as of late, as everyone knows, right? And so, we'll partner with brands that can hopefully provide some functional benefits and some additives to those drinks. We've started doing some more unique partnerships with more traditional and DTC brands, right? So brands like Seed and others that are traditionally online only, and thinking if there's innovative ways to bring them into the retail environment. But I think, what I'd say is those are maybe the partnerships that make headlines. But there's a lot of partnerships kind of below the surface that kind of drive the everyday business of us, the everyday business of the brands and our customers as well. So things like in-store demos, social activations, email marketing, local event marketing, that kind of stuff that might be more hyper targeted, but in my opinion, kind of drives more of the volume and the business for a lot of our brands.
Justin, this one I'll start with you, and then if anyone else wants to jump in, what I in general like it is the best way for a brand to partner with you guys. Like, they're on shelf, they want to support, they want to drive traffic, they want to bring people in, they want to support what Jimbo stands behind, what Kroger stands behind, what Erewhon stands behind. What are I guess some successful partnerships, if any, come to mind off the top of your head? I don't want to put you on the spot. But two, like, what are a few kind of good ways that brands can support you?
Sure. I always look at it as there's a partnership, and that has been part of the ethos of Jimbo's for quite some time, that we never really approach what we're doing with a brand as it's all about us. It's really about the ecosystem and how does that partnership work? How do we come up with an idea together that'll make things really click? And it's not always about what we think. And I'm sure, we think we're very confident about our go-to-market and how we retail, but it's also not all about how the person who where the product comes from, they have a whole idea of how they want their product to perform and how they want people to see it. But really, you got to come together and kind of mesh those two thoughts to come through with what really is going to work for both sides in the particular environment, right? And if I were to look at a great partnership. Probably I'd have to say, Dr. Bronner's, we just launched a sort of, I guess, a self-serve bulk soap fixture at the end of one of our aisles here in the Carmel Valley store. And it was really one of those ideas of, okay, hey, let's think about how can we get plastic out of the ecosystem. That's already something we do. We don't sell any water in plastic because it's the #1 contributor to plastic waste. But they came in and we started talking about it, and we already sold Dr. Bronner's, but we came up with the bulk station, and through a number of different meetings, it was designed, we installed it, and it outsells the plastic bottles on the shelf 3-to-1 right now. And it was so successful that they're going to be launching in Whole Foods nationwide. So, it's that type of collaboration and really looking at it as a partnership, not as one side versus the other, that we look at as successful partnerships with retail, with producers.
And Jane, Kabir, if you have anything, feel free to cut me off on that one, on just general brand partnership support.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add there is for sort of the everyday brand that's in our store or any stores, the only answer is demos. Like, it's demo, at least for Erewhon, it's demos. It is like proven to be the #1 driver of velocity and sales and trial. That being said, it's the hardest probably to do because it requires time and effort, in some cases money. But for the brands that are able to, if you're thinking about which activation activities or marketing activities you want to dive into, at least at Erewhon, demos drive velocity more than anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Kabir. If you're really committed to your product, you kind of got to put your money where your mouth is and commit. And if you get to see the people, and if it's ideally it's someone who's truly associated with the brand, not a demo person from somewhere else, but someone who's aligned with that brand themselves, so that customers really get that level of commitment, and they understand, and they get it inherently, and then they want that brand. So I would agree with you entirely.
Jane, can you touch on the Kroger Wellness Festival a little bit, and how brands who are maybe just rolling out in Kroger can attend the festival, support, get face time, not only with the people of Cincinnati and potential shoppers and customers, but also with the Kroger team, and what it means to be a brand who comes to the festival, pops up, and supports what you guys are behind?
Sure. Kroger Wellness Festival might be my favorite thing to talk about, because historically Kroger has never done anything like this before. I know I mentioned earlier, I've been with the company for about 12 years, and never in my wildest dreams did I think we'd be able to pull off what we've been pulling off in the health and wellness space, and it all being focused around Kroger. So not just Kroger Health, but really the whole entire grocery store, and really showcasing it as a health and wellness destination. So in order to attend the Kroger Wellness Festival, first of all, anybody can attend. It's free to the public. Come to Cincinnati, September 22nd, 23rd. There's my plug, to come and see it. It's down at the Banks in downtown Cincinnati. It's a beautiful, beautiful festival. But in order to participate as a brand at our festival, you do have to be carried in at least one of our divisions. So obviously, when we have our festival attendees come, we want them to be able to go back into our stores and purchase the products or get it shipped to their home from Kroger. So that's why the rule is you have to be carried in our stores today. But really, it's a fantastic opportunity. Going back to demo, it's a fantastic opportunity to get your brand in front of so many people that come through. So last year alone, it was 125,000 people. And this festival has grown significantly. So the first year we did it in 2018, I think we saw around 20,000 people. Fast forward to today with 125,000 and counting. Those numbers are very conservative, by the way, and I like to stay that way. But we're going to be having it again, obviously, at the end of September. And it's just really a fantastic way to get your product in our customers' hands, and maybe people that aren't a current Kroger customer that will become a Kroger customer because they see our dedication to health and wellness in the Better For You brand space, and really discovering brands that they never had any idea that we carry in our stores today. Because unlike Jimbo's and Erewhon, our stores are much larger, and they can get lost. The Better For You brands, I'm admitting it, they can get lost sometimes in all the other things that we have in our stores, which we're going to keep doing that too, making sure that we have everything for everybody. But it's a really, really amazing way to showcase what we do carry in our stores today that is considered better for you. And then obviously we want to continue to do more and more and more of that. So some of the best stories come out of the festival. So if there's a family walking around with their child who has severe, let's say a severe nut allergy, and they see that we have a product that they didn't know that we carry in their local Kroger store, that they're able to go and get now that they've found it at the Kroger Wellness Festival. So it truly is an event to really show people that we're a holistic health and wellness destination.
Now we are approaching the questions session from the crowd. We have millions of them. I was gonna ask you 3 traits of successful brands, but we had a question come in that's very similar, so I'm actually gonna save that one for later. But the 3 of you talked about, the demoing, the showing up as a brand, whether it be partnering, putting in the effort to partner at the Kroger Wellness Festival, or coming into the store and like really just like sitting there, putting your money where the mouth is and handing out the product and working with consumers. But what are a few tactics that come to mind that you guys have seen help brands win when they either launch in Jimbo's and Erewhon, or just to keep kind of the velocities moving? Like at the end of the day, we want to talk about velocity for the conference. But yeah, so what are some tactics that you've seen that worked well at Erewhon and worked well at Jimbo's? And then Jane, if you've come across any tactics that you've seen, feel free to jump in as well.
Yeah, I can go first. So I think 2 that I'll say kind of outside of demos, which we talked about. So, I mean, not just at Erewhon, but I think at any retailer, including the 3 of ours, getting on the shelf is half the battle, maybe less than half the battle. You got to turn on the shelf, and it's really hard to do, especially in competitive sets like we all have and like all the brands are in. And so, you got to rely on marketing outside, in my opinion, marketing outside of the store, right? So you got to use marketing tactics as a brand outside of the retailer to drive your customers into store. There's a variety of ways that brands are doing it, but relying on the retailer's marketing avenues alone is usually not a recipe for success, because those shelves they're just too competitive. And so the best you can do to drive your own customers with your own strategies outside of the retailer into the retailer is usually an avenue for success. The second thing I'd say, which is kind of contrary maybe, is have a good distributor relationship. A lot of people focus on the retailer relationship, which is obviously very, very important. But the distributor relationship is arguably sometimes even more important, assuming you're selling through a distributor. At Erewhon, and I'm sure every retailer agrees, we do our best to order products as best we can. We try to minimize out of stocks on the shelf, et cetera. But out of stocks can just kill a brand. And especially when it's a distributor kind of in the middle that's at fault. And so being very in tune with your distributor, understanding their stock levels, which retailers are pulling, making sure they have enough product in time, communicating with them to place POs to you is sometimes, equally, if not more important than the retail relationship in many cases, especially for us.
Yeah, I just would really concur with what Kabir said. The only thing I might add is, if there's some way to gen up enthusiasm for that launch, create some sort of countdown to your launch, some sort of event. We've had a few different vendors who have had a lot of fun doing events right out in the parking lot as they launch their brand, just to create energy and drive the dynamic of, even people that are already there. You may not be getting people there with an event in the parking lot, but the people that are arriving, it's a captured audience, so you might as well get after it. But I think the ability to do something, as Kabir said, with marketing that really builds some sort of energy towards that launch date, and you kind of get people waiting for it. You can get a pre-demand going for your product, and it can be a lot of fun. The more creative you get with it, the more people connect with it.
Question from the crowd, which I actually really like this one. Kabir and Justin, this one you may be able to speak to this one, you may not, you tell me. But Jane, I'd love to hear it from you as well. How do you tailor, if at all, the product offerings in the store relative to the actual location and the demographics around the store?
That's all we do. And it can be hard. It's easier said than done. Being a large corporation and having all the different departments that need to work together. of course, with Kroger Health, we overlap a lot with our HBC department. So the health and beauty care and the OTC and diabetic sets and all that good stuff. But we really, really try to place the product as best as we can to make sure that it's reaching our customers as easily as possible. And I kind of touched on it a little bit. It can be confusing for customers sometimes. And a lot of customers don't even like to come into the store anymore. So we do have that audience that we have to be really intentional on where we place our products. So it's a lot of work, but it's very important work and something that we're dedicated to doing and making sure that we're making the shopping experience the easiest, most enjoyable, and even like fun experience for people that's possible. And going back to demo, we have in-store demoing, which people absolutely love. That's something that we felt really strongly about keeping for our company because, of course, with COVID, all of those fun things kind of went away. And now we're making sure that we're bringing that back. The Kroger Wellness Festival, things like that, to make the experience super enjoyable for people. I'm personally an in-person type of person. Like I wish we were all together sitting on a panel so that I could meet you all in person. And I want to be like that with our customers as well. So we make sure that the people that are coming into our stores, which is millions and millions and millions of people a day, which is super exciting. We want to make sure that we're the one person maybe that they're talking to that day. We want to make sure that we're smiling at them and saying hello and having that meaningful interaction and helping them find the products that they need to find. So circling back to your product question, we're really trying to make that as easy as possible. But product placement is something that's it can be really interesting. It can be confusing sometimes for brands because at times they think their better for you products should sit over by the pharmacy, but we know our customers are going to find it easier in the baby aisle, even though it has amazing health and wellness benefits. So that's a really complex discussion that we have internally daily.
We probably can't get it all done in the last 10 minutes. So we will save the rest for the in-person version next year, hopefully.
I can speak to Erewhon just quickly because we've been talking about this a lot lately. So we're 9 stores. If a brand is approved at Erewhon, it's approved at all stores. So every new brand goes into every store today. And then from that point forward, the stores themselves are making purchasing decisions based on the velocity of items in that store. And despite the fact that all our stores are in LA, they're in very different demographic areas and they're very different sizes. And so certain products will move very well in some stores and vice versa in others. And that's kind of up to the stores at that point. But we're sort of at that precipice where we may start considering, as our stores grow in number and change in size, start considering, A stores, B stores, et cetera. But for now, everything's kind of globally approved.
And are there any trends that you got? Oh, Justin, did you have something?
Yeah, I just think it's a pretty complex question, quite frankly. If you heard the 2 answers. Obviously Jane and Kroger, you have so many divisions, but much like Erewhon, we have very few locations, and everything goes in every single location, relatively in the same space. But as you're really thinking about it, depending on the company that you're dealing with, it can be a much more dynamic question than that because you're going to have to align with the strategy of the company that you're going into. And so you first of all, you have their strategy and then what you want, and then you have geography and demographics. So, I might have in the, up in the Northern California, Western Canada region, I could have done something different in Canada than Washington, than Oregon, than San Francisco. But it really would depend on what the demands and where we thought the strength of categories were in any given market. So there's a lot that goes into that when you get into larger geographies, but in these smaller geographies, it's actually pretty simple. You get on shelf, but at some point as you get bigger, you have to really think that through. And if you're gonna engage a retailer, it's probably really important to understand their markets yourself, because you're going to want to have some sort of input into that decision-making process, if at all possible, with their category management team.
And are there any trends that you guys are seeing that have kind of popped up in the last year that you're kind of on the rise? Anything that stands out on the CPG product side or ingredient side?
I hate to call it a trend because it's really something that we believe in, but it was very clear to me that it's really exploding, and going to Expo West this year is regenerative agriculture. And it's something that we've been really focused on for the last couple of years. is recognizing the need to rebuild the topsoil worldwide. And while it's not great to call it a trend because it's really it's an environmental emergency, but I think everyone's getting that and recognizing that this is truly a way that you can produce goods and take care of the planet at the same time, and it's honestly possible. So we're definitely seeing that. I think we're probably seeing a little bit more of that because of the space that we occupy. But it's probably one of the most encouraging trends that I've seen over the last year.
Yeah, I think we're certainly seeing a lot of the regen here as well. One we're seeing quite a bit of recently is mushrooms. Mushrooms have been increasingly popular over the last couple of years. I think in the earlier years, it was much more from a adaptogenic form, which we're certainly still seeing. But now we're seeing a lot more of mushrooms used for the food themselves in the base of a lot of different categories. And so we're seeing mushrooms in snacks, we're seeing mushrooms in meal alternatives, we're seeing mushrooms in meat alternatives. We're seeing a lot more mushroom usage as a form of an ingredient, not just an adaptogen.
Well, a little comic relief, my phone is propped up on an Ohm mushroom box right now.
There you go.
I had some mushroom coffee recently that I absolutely
Exactly.
loved.
That's right.
Yeah, and I wouldn't really call this a trend, but something that has come across my desk a lot lately is the topic of sleep and more restful sleep and ingredients and foods that are going to help you do that. And I get very, very interested in that. I have 2 small children and work a lot of hours and all the things that everybody on here, I have a feeling there's a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience here that are probably just on the grind 24/7. And I think that there is something to be said about a good night's sleep. And it's something that at Kroger Health, we haven't paid as much attention to in the past, and something that we continue to talk about a lot. So any products, any supplements, anything like that has been brought to our attention within the last, I would say probably like 6 to 9 months, we've been paying a lot of close attention to, and it's just something that we're all very interested in right now. So the jury's still out on that one, but that's really what we've been talking about behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think mental health and sleep products will
Exactly.
start to expand a ton moving forward. And I think is accelerated by COVID and work from home. But
Totally.
so we have 5 minutes left. This has gone way too fast, in my opinion. I feel like we could all hang for a while. What's kind of the evaluation process for a brand wanting to be in your store? I feel like everybody's going to want to know the answer to this question if they don't already, but I figured I'd ask. If you could feel free to speak to it from a high level. You don't need to get into the nitty gritty, but if you have any thoughts on that.
I'll start from a very high level, just because we see a lot of brands, hundreds of brands a week sometimes that will reach out. For me personally, and I'm only going to speak to Kroger Health, HBC merchandising, grocery merchandising, I'm sure very similar, but maybe a little bit different too. For us, it's all about aligning with our strategy. And if it's a good fit, we're going to take the call. We want to hear people. We want that product innovation. Like I said, we want the things that make us different than our competitors. So anything that comes to the table that we get excited about, interested in, and it fits the strategy, we're taking that call and we're very excited about it. So when you're asking about an evaluation process, and also advice that I would give to people on this call is finding a retailer that is aligned. And I know, Justin, you were kind of talking about this earlier. And like I said, my notes that I kind of jotted down before I got on this call are almost verbatim what you've been talking about, but finding a retailer that is out doing the same things you want to be tied to and really feeling that authentic, genuine connection with each other is really what springboards you into like that next meeting, and then the next meeting, and then the next meeting. And then I would also say, of course, Dylan, there's a ton of like technical things that we have to check off, but just making sure that you show up for your retailer. And then in turn, your retailer shows up for you. So it's not one-sided, don't get me wrong. But again, when we see hundreds and hundreds of brands, because we're such a large company, having brands that will show up for us and get things done quickly allows us more collaboration time together. And if we're able to get things done quickly, then we'll be able to move the needle faster. And then hopefully that will be driving sales just naturally. So that would be my advice, is showing up for us, and we'll show up for you in return.
Yeah, I think what I would say is, so again, there's all the technical stuff. You got to meet the ingredients and yada yada. Art, not science, for sure, right? So the way we evaluate brands is very subjective for any new brand. I wish we had the chance to meet every brand that applies to Erewhon, but we're a very small team, and there's a lot of brands that are applying. So the reality is, whether you come in or you don't, you may never meet anyone at Erewhon. So because there just isn't kind of the capacity. So what that ends up meaning is you have to really craft a story of your brand in your application. And so we're looking for brands that, you know, have a vision, have an interesting background, have packaging that's compelling, are in a category that we're excited about, you know, all of the things that everyone knows. But I think the things that brands can often forget is, and all three of us share this same thing, you know, it's one in, one out. These stores are limited sizes, the shelves don't get bigger. And so for every brand that's applying, you know, one comes out of the store, unfortunately. And so we're really looking for something that's compelling to our customers, that warrants you know, replacing another brand on the shelf, unfortunately. The one thing we try to do, and our customers have come to expect this of us, is they want freshness in the aisles. And so we bring in brands on a weekly basis. And so we like to move very quickly as applications come in, so that our customers can come in one Friday and the next, and they might see different brands on the shelf. So the good news is you're not necessarily waiting for category reset cycles or something like that if you're applying to Erewhon. We try to move quicker than that. But yeah, crafting that story is everything, assuming you don't get a chance to give the voiceover, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would, you know, I have to agree with you both. You know, if I were to go back to what Jane was saying, you know, it's really important to understand that you have alignment with the retailer that you want to go into. And, you know, for us, it really is about being differentiated. You know, if you have to understand what we're seeking and whether or not your brand will be differentiated, or if you're just going to go on the shelf and just take up space, it's not going to make a lot of sense, right? You want something that's compelling. You know, we talked about how to launch new items earlier. Well, part of that is making sure in advance that you are differentiated into whatever space you're going into. But maybe a little bit of a larger piece to that is, you know, these are three, if you look at these three different brands, there's Erewhon, there's Jimbo's, and Kroger, you know, the big one, each one of us have very different demands. So, you know, you heard Kabir saying, hey, one in, one out. Well, that's not the case at Jimbo's. We're a little bit bigger, and I'm sure the same is true for Kroger. They're just so large that they can probably find the room. So it's knowing little details like that as well. I mean, that's so important what Kabir said, that, hey, it's one in, one out. You better make a big impression, because, you know, this is a big decision for us. So understand the gravity of those decisions that the retailer has to make when you're going in, and that'll help you with your own strategy.
Amazing. Well, we are at time. This is unfortunate. I wish we could keep going. No, I thought that was amazing. You know, there's definitely brand founders and marketers, you know, agency partners who want to work with retailers listening in, and we're recording these and going to repost them. So thank you guys for jumping on and sharing kind of your perspective on things. We're going to break for lunch at 1 o'clock Pacific. We've got Taking an Idea through Scale. So that's going to be Ari Raz from Once Upon a Farm and Coconut Cult, Matt Clifford from Barnana and now Can Do, operating Keto Crisp, and then Jen from Goodles. It is pronounced Goodles, everyone, not Goodles. I learned that today. 3 amazing brands, 3 amazing founders. So I'm pumped for that one too. But you guys killed it. Thank you so much. And we'll catch up after, but if you want to jump backstage, we'll go back there. But thank you everyone for tuning in.
All right. Jane, Kabir, nice to meet you both.
Yes,
Likewise.
nice to meet you guys.
Bye, guys.
Take good.
Bye.